Hello friends, this is Anurag. This is a video on how I design custom and field in Creo. Let's see the parts of the bike one after the other. Starting with the chassis of the bike. This is just the back part of the chassis. This is that of a Royal Enfield Thunderbird model. RE for Royal Enfield. This is another part of the chassis attached in the front end. This is another part of the chassis. It's like a link for the clamp and the front end. This is a clamp that holds the gearbox and engine very rigid and attaches to the chassis. Holds it firm. This is the T-stem. This is also like a link for the front shock absorbers and the chassis. These are the front shock absorbers, and this is where you connect the front wheel rim, front mud guards and stuff like that. Next comes the handlebar. The handlebar has been designed wide enough so that the rider feels royal enough. The rod holding the mirror is designed in the shape of a sine wave. Thought it might look good. Looks good in fact. Next comes the headlight. It's quite a modified version of the headlight than what you find in Enfield bikes. I've added two park lights on either side of the main lamp. It's made like a gun. Can you notice the glass in front of the bulb inside it? As it is not that clear, I'll make it clear by making a crack on the glass. Just drawing the cross section of the crack. And now you can see the crack very clearly. You can notice the color of the bulb is different when you see it through the glass and when you see it through the crack, making the glass more visible clearly. Next comes the speedometer of the bike. This is the design of the speedometer I find in Royal Enfield Thunderbird bike. You can see the hole in which you put the key in, and that's where you place it. Next comes the front indicators. You can notice a crack on the glass of the indicators also. Comes the front mudguard. The style of the number plate, you cannot find it now. It used to come in Royal Enfield bikes. I've just replaced the numbers with my name. Comes the back mudguard. Enfield, Royal Enfield. The lamp glows when you apply brake. Comes back indicators. There's no difference from the front indicators, it's the same. Next comes the front wheel rim. You probably wouldn't have found this kind of a design in Enfield bikes. This idea of rim was imported from Harley Davidson bikes. Just wanted to see how it looks on Enfield bikes. Looks pretty good. It's made like a gun. These are alloy wheels. So the back wheel rim. It's the same thing. Next comes the disc brake attached to the front wheel rim. It's a powerful brake indeed. Now comes the suspension. It's an important part of the bike as it adds to the comfort of the bike. Now comes the suspension isolated. This is the type of design you can find in most of the bikes. It's no different from other bikes. Same thing. Here comes a front wheel tire, typical one. Comes a back tire. It's quite different. Almost looks real, isn't it? The type of grip suits it to it. This thing is provided on either side of the bike for you to keep some toolkit or something like that. This is a locker in the bike. You can keep some papers like insurance papers or something safety. You can keep it inside and lock it. Next comes the plastic thing that just covers the messy part of the chassis, those welded parts. Now comes the nut. It's quite a big nut that holds the T-stem and the chassis together. There is one another pair of nuts that hold them together. You can see them. Here comes the stud. Like the chassis and the suspension centered. Obviously you need split pins to keep them intact. You can see them in close up. Now comes the gearbox. It's a huge one. The bike is gaining weight. RE, Royal Enfield. It's a provision for the attachment of kicker or gear lever. Now comes the clamp. It's an important part as it holds the gearbox rigid attached to the chassis. Now comes the chain and the driven gear. The chain looks almost real, isn't it? It's attached to the gearbox. Now comes the engine of the bike. It looks huge, isn't it? It's twin spark 350cc engine. You can notice there are two spark plugs on the top of the engine, and that's why it's twin spark. You can see the pipe that brings the petrol from petrol tank to the engine. You can see the carburetor over there. Now comes the gear lever, and that's the thing that helps you in shifting the gears from 1 to 5. You can notice the bend in the lever from top end to bottom end. You can see the kicker now. Nowadays Enfield bikes are provided with click start, yet these kickers cannot be avoided. The most beautiful part of the bike, silencer, has come. I thought I would listen it like a machine gun, and so I did. If you notice the rear part of the silencer, it looks like a machine gun. It has muffler inside to reduce the sound. And next comes the petrol tank. The shape of the petrol tank adds to the royalty of the bike. There is a groove given under the petrol tank just to fit it on the chassis. It's smooth enough. The last part of the bike, the seat, without which the bike will look incomplete. It's made like a gun. You can notice the spring loaded under the seat for more comfort. You can have a look at the bike from different angles. But there's one thing we are left with. One thing that connects the soul of the rider and the soul of the bike. One thing that gives the bike its life. Can you guess what that is? Yes, it's the key. This is exactly made like a gun. And this is how the key of an Enfield bike should look like, isn't it? If you notice, you can see the yellow color circling around the Royal Enfield logo. I just found it accidentally. Looks good. That's it, folks. Now that you have seen this video, you probably understand how great a fan of Royal Enfield I am. Thank you for watching the video.